Hey, this is Dale of Top Gun Dog Training. A lot of people ask me, what do I do when my dog barks when people come to the door? And it's a big problem because, here's an example. I was training some of my dogs, my poodles yesterday, and while we were training with the owner, the mail lady came up and she said, "Oh, your dogs are outside now. I can go to your house and they're not going to bark at the window." And the owner of the dog said, is this very common? She goes, the mail lady said this, every single house that has dogs, they bark at the window, they bark at the door, they bark, bark, bark. Every single house that has dogs. So it's a very big problem, and especially big problem if you live in an apartment like I do. There's a lot of dogs here that bark in the house all day long, and even bark in the house or on the balcony when the owner is there, which is worse. So here's how you fix this. It's not one method. I'm going to give you generalizations, and I'm going to give you tips on how I have fixed it and got it better under control with my clients. There's a lot of ways to do this. This is just a generalization. The first thing that has to be established are rules in the house for the dogs. Just like humans have rules. Turn off the light when you leave the room. Put the toilet seat down. Turn the TV off before you go to bed. Don't have the music on too loud. If you cook something, clean up your mess and put it in the dishwasher. Those are rules that the household has. So dogs also have to have certain rules. There are rooms they can't go into. There are behaviors they can't have. There are certain things that, they're only going to get treats and they're only going to get fed at certain times. There are certain rules that dogs need to have. This is the first thing that I see that owners fail to implement into the dog's life, because this builds a solid relationship with the owner and the dog and gives the dog a guidance and direction and lets the dog know that you, as the owner, are in control of their life and they don't have to worry about it. There's a lot less stress. And the next thing you have to evaluate is, what type of barking is it? Every client that I have that has a dog bark when I come up to the door or somebody comes up to the door is always excited barking. But you have to analyze this, and you have to have a dog behavior specialist or a dog trainer check out the barking. It could be guard barking, it could be fear barking, it could be other types of barking. It depends if there's growling with it or howling with it. It could vary, but most of the time it's excited barking because they're in play mode. And they think, wow, somebody's coming to the house, we get to play. So how do you fix that? Well, every dog that I've seen that has excited barking when somebody comes to the house is generally under-exercised and under-mental stimulated. So you have to exercise these dogs. If you have a Labradoodle, for example, you have another type of dog that's very high energy. They need an hour minimum of exercise a day. That means you have to walk them 3 20-minute walks a day, 2 30-minute walks a day. There's no question about that. They have to exercise a lot to tire them out so they don't have that excitement always going on when you don't want it. The second thing is they have to be mentally stimulated on an ongoing basis. Practicing the sit, practicing a downstay, practicing, other things like, shake, paw, or other things that you have taught the dog to get their brain to tire out so that they've had that play time and they're not always seeking it when somebody comes to the door. Those are the two most common reasons that I've seen happen when dogs get too excited when somebody comes to the door. And one final tip that I will give you that's worked very well for me is you use what we call blocking. So you train the dog over, and this takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. You have to have somebody come to the door and you move your body around as they're trying to get to the door. The door is behind me, the dogs are up here. You use very little words, very little corrections. You block the energy of the dog getting to the door or getting to the window as it happens, at the beginning that it happens, and then the dog realizes that that's not a good thing that he or she should be doing. If you wait till it escalates and the dog's already been barking for 2 or 3 minutes, there's no hope. You got to wait till that incident is over and then try again. You've got to get this under control with blocking, if that's the technique you're going to use, as it begins to happen or before it even happens. So if you know somebody's coming over to the house and they texted you, I'm in your driveway, or I'm pulling up to your driveway, you have to start that blocking now, and you have to get your dogs in a down stay, maybe give them a Kong toy, or give them something else to keep them preoccupied, so somebody can walk in and you can work on these techniques. These are just very general techniques, and every dog, every household varies. This is why I have to go to a household and see the dogs in action when they're in the house, so I can help the owner correct these behavior problems. Because the behavior problems in the household, specifically barking when you don't want them to, is going to show up outside when you walk the dog, when they're socializing with other dogs, when they're trying to be greeted by people. All of these things are going to show up. And no, there is not a command that you can get to your dog to stop barking if you haven't gone through these other things. That's a very advanced technique. You can't just go to a dog and say, stop barking, and no, knock it off, stop, quit, because that just makes them more excited. Because what happens is you're trying to communicate with the dog while they're excited, and they think, hey, the way to get my owner to pay attention to me is to act excited. You can't do that. It's not going to work. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. This is Dale of TopGunDogTraining.com.